Hi, this is Jim, and for BFR, here's your COVID-19 update for Tuesday, the 25th of August, 2020. Got some metrics for you for Georgia. And before I go on, I'll want to answer an FAQ I do get asked from time to time. Jim, do you edit this or do you do it live all the time? I do it live to recording. However, this is the third time I'm starting now because the first time, as I was going through this part, I had a big Peter Brady voice incident. The second time I did it, I had the wrong chart up for Tuesday. I had Monday's chart up. So let's see if the third time is the charm here. And here's today's chart. Good news on the case reports. We were down to 2101 today. That is 25% down from last week. So very positive on that number. That's with a healthy amount of tests at 26,000, as well as a low percentage of positives at 8.2. Now, there was some discussion yesterday on percent positives after I published, and I'm going to talk more about that in a couple of minutes and talk about what drove some of the numbers that are shown on the DPH site a little crazy. Let's jump down to the fatality number. 106 deaths reported today. Second highest death report since the start of the pandemic. The DPH site has this at 107. Either way, it's still the highest number of deaths, and deaths were up 39 from last week. A point to make here is I talked yesterday about how I felt like this could trail out over time. And I still think that's true, but what I didn't consider, and I think may even make this plateau go on longer of higher deaths, is the fact that unlike the case report, which is automated, unlike the active hospitalizations, which is a census taken every day, this is all submitted data that has to be processed through a system. People look at it, has to be entered, those types of things. That makes me think that there could be more of a backlog and that these cases will be out here a bit longer. So I feel like the plateau is not over yet, and that this number could potentially show up. We could see 100 death days in the next few weeks as we go forward looking at this data. So just where I'm at right now, and that's not based on any other trends of things increasing, but just the way I understand the things processed through the system. On the hospitalization side, new hospitalizations right on par from last week, only off 4 active beds, dropped to 2260, and we're really seeing a nice decline in active beds. That's gone down. If you look at the daily average over the last 7 days, active beds have dropped by about 45 a day over the last 7 days. So that's been dropping pretty well. We were at over 2,500 last week. So I like the trend we're seeing. Hopefully, when we look at tomorrow's data, we will see the total pandemic view and kind of compare that to where we are right now. So good news there. There's no CCU report today because it wasn't published as of 5 o'clock. I did not do up a chart for schools because there was only one incident that I picked up today. Forsyth County published their weekly report, and they listed 30 cases across that district. So 30 new cases of COVID-19 in Forsyth County schools during last week. One other thing I want to talk about today is the numbers that peaked up yesterday, and a lot of confusion surrounding a big spike in Bibb County and a spike in the positive rate and about things matching up again. And it's very difficult to stay consistent with what the DPH says because they're continually backdating things, or they're changing the way things are viewed, or they're in this case, there was a big data dump from Navicent which is a provider in the north central Georgia region. 21,000 reports came into the DPH system. Many of them were duplicates, some weren't. It threw the Bibb County numbers completely off. And a lot of folks have pointed to the work of Dr. Amber Schmidtke. She has been really consistent in not just looking at the data like we do here, but really getting down into the county data, and she picked up on this Bibb County incident. She also noted in her report yesterday that 50% of the new cases were actually earlier than 14 days ago. So the whole idea behind the DPH site is there's this line that shows all the cases should pretty much be booked into the system within 14 days. About 1,400 cases from yesterday's report were actually cases from early to mid-June. That is really problematic, and I won't go into a rant about the state and how they should do better and how we should be holding them more accountable and all that we should be seeing, because I just don't see the benefit at this point. But I think it's important to realize this is going to keep going. There's nobody out there who is putting additional time and resources that I've seen into making these case numbers more solid, happen more quickly, and do the kind of things we need to do. So this is going to keep continuing on, and frankly, it plays in the state's favor, right? If cases don't come in and it looks like our numbers are going down, that's what they're trying to see, right? That's the news that they want to get out there. So if they can come out and say, oh yeah, but 1,400 of those cases were from June, we don't think about that. Just think about the new cases. That is really going to be problematic as we go forward. If it was Jim's world, I would bring in the National Guard. I would, and not to federalize this, but I feel like the National Guard has the resources to do the accounting, to bring this data up to date and catch it up, as well as figure out ways to make it more efficient so we're getting these deaths and the cases and the hospitalization stuff on a regular basis. And maybe even we see a discrepancy report that says, hey, you know what? We haven't seen a lot of data from Navicent lately. We're not going to assume all is well. We're going to start working on this stuff instead. And so we don't have a big 1,400 data dump or 21,000 report data dump that comes in. So I hope that happens. I doubt it will, but there's my opinion. Maybe it'll give somebody an idea as we go forward. All right. Speaking of things related to me, it's Tuesday, and I always talk about the tip jar on Tuesday briefly. This is my way of saying thank you to everyone who has tipped me over the last week. Of course, I try and respond to everybody personally, but sometimes somebody sneaks through the cracks or whatever. But another thank you as well to the folks who help me out and find my data valuable. If you do, and you want to throw some money in the jar for a beer or a pizza, I always appreciate that. And the link is on the screen there, and I'll also put it in the description as well. So thanks to everybody who tips. It's not required. I'm going to keep doing this for free because I like it and it's interesting. But I know that some people feel like they want to just show support, and I greatly appreciate that. So that's what the tip jar is all about. All right, that wraps up today's update. The other thing is tomorrow, as I mentioned, we've got the full pandemic view, so we can take a look and see how some of that has shifted over the last week or so, which includes the daily or the weekly view of the White House guidelines and how we're performing against that. And I think we're staying in the yellow for new cases, so we'll keep our eye out for that as well. Thanks, everybody. Have a nice night, nice morning, whatever the case may be, and I will talk to you tomorrow.